Welcome back to the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Show. We are almost hitting week 11, and it's the stretch run. I'm joined as usual by my co-host Mo Aurora. And on today's show, we have a league mate, Chris Vendito, on the bubble to make the playoffs, but controls his own destiny. Welcome to the show, Chris.
No, I'm in a good position for the playoffs, I feel, actually. But it's good to be here. It's good to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm actually in a pretty strong position, Jeff. I think you're minimizing it. I think you're bitter. It's been a rough year for you.
We spoke to Mace last week.
Best fantasy football team of all time.
Mace, he ruined my season. He auto-drafted James Conner pretty much and ruined my entire season. So I had a bone to pick with him last week, and that was over. So I feel at peace. And I'm looking at the standings, and you definitely control your own destiny. And it looks like there's only poor Carl, who lost by 0.2 points.
There's never been a more important kicker tackle in football. Yeah. That's what won Corey the week, and that's what makes me still in the playoff position.
Beautiful thing. So, Corey, let me ask you, apart from relying on incredible luck like that, do you have a strategy, a philosophy that you use when you construct a fantasy football team, the way you manage your teams? Is there a simple way to describe how you run your team?
Go for broke. I think every year, you guys have noticed, I've really decided to go all in on that season. Mm-hmm. And maybe I might have been too stupid this year, though. I immediately regret the Eric Ebron trade. I immediately regret including Ebron in the trade.
I like your balls because it's good. It's good to go all in. I guess that you were on the short end of the stick last week with the Ebron trade. So Chris traded away.
The David Johnson trade worked well.
Yes, the David Johnson trade worked well. And I feel that Mo and I would agree that was a good trade to make.
And the Jimmy Howard trade with you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I think Howard has better days ahead. So, and I'm out of it, man. So I think I like what you did. You traded away some draft picks.
I kept my first, and I'm probably going to trade that in the offseason. Let's be real. I mean, who needs draft picks? I'm a Rams fan. We don't have draft picks.
That's right. You are a Rams fan. You having fun with that so far this year?
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my adult life.
Not that way. So one thing is, you bring up a good point though. Talking about is in a keeper league, you can. There are teams that they try to get ready for the playoffs, but they always still have an eye towards next year. I think Vendito, you sound like you're like me in that, like, no matter what you do, you can just start fresh and have an okay team next year, right? So you might as well go all in. Absolutely. Right? The hard part I was just gonna say is that you don't always have like a full slate of who's available to you when you're looking at, like, this is who I have to trade, this is what my future assets that I can give up, but like only this and this running back are actually available, to a contender. Yeah. It's like, do I actually want this guy? It's amazing how it kind of cuts down the trade market for you,
It is, but the fun part about the keeper league is, and you guys know both of this, because like none of you drafted Alvin Kamara high last year. Like you didn't draft Alvin Kamara high last year.
Yeah, baby.
15th round. There was other leagues where he was available in week 3 on the waiver wire still.
Yeah, in those leagues.
Like Kareem Hunt wasn't a high draft pick for you, Jeff.
No, he was. He was my first round pick, and we
that's pretty high actually.
We bring it.
Spencer Ware got hurt in training camp last year.
Yeah, it's true.
Kareem Hunt went from just a guy to found money, right?
Yes,
we actually.
Royce Freeman didn't though. Oof.
Oh no, the entire first round of our draft has been a bust for almost every team this year, for sure.
Except for Bruno.
Except for Saquon, which we kind of knew that he was going to pan out probably, but everyone else, the Lamar Millers. I was looking at the first round the other day. It was a terrible, terrible first round.
Who else went in that first round? Because I didn't have a first round pick.
I
didn't have a first, second, or third. So I didn't join the draft until like the 7th round of the draft. That's how bad. That's how all in I went last year.
Yeah.
I didn't pick until my first pick was Cam Newton.
That's right. That's pretty good pick.
I'm gonna pull up the draft here.
For anyone watching, if you aren't familiar with the format of our league, the keeper league is you get to keep 3 keepers.
Yeah.
there's no draft value assigned to them. They basically represent your first 3 picks. So only studs get drafted. There's no bargains that sort of get stashed or anything like that. It's really a matter of collecting studs. And then if you end up with 4 or 5 studs, you trade a couple of those studs away for more draft picks, or you're trying to acquire studs, so you give away draft picks. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. What are you gonna do next year? You have like at least 4 studs.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hoping to do is have 3 of the best players in fantasy football and multiple first-round picks. That's what I'm hoping.
That's a good call.
After 36 keepers were taken, here is the first round of our draft. So we had Saquon Barkley. He panned out so far. Lamar Miller, not really. Derrick Henry, not at all. Travis Kelce, yes. Stephon Diggs, he's kind of been pretty good. Yeah. Freeman, Jerick McKinnon, Kenyon Drake, Marshawn Lynch, kind of not really. Deion Lewis has been good. Kerryon Johnson has been good, but I mean, first round pick, I'm not sure. And then Amari Cooper at the end of that first round.
To give you an idea of how bad that is, I got Cooper Kupp in like the 5th round or the 6th round of the draft. Mm-hmm. Cooper Kupp before he went down. Jesus, he was on pace for like 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So yeah.
Where'd you you have Robert Woods, right?
No, I don't have Robert Woods.
Woods was put on in the first 6-7 rounds.
Oh yeah,
he was a low draft pick.
Double-digit round or something like that, right? I just want to say, I think Kerryon Johnson was a good pick. That was my.
That's a great pick, and it's paying off. It was a great pick this week for you.
Chris is a legitimate Rams fan. What's your early take on Josh Reynolds?
It's not going to be Josh Reynolds. It's going to be Gerald Everett.
Okay.
It's going to be Gerald Everett.
That is great. That is great recon, and I kind of believe you, man. I'm going with you on this one.
Everett was picked ahead of Kupp in the draft during McVay's era. He's like 6'3", 250. He's like Jordan Reed light. It's going to be Everett, not Reynolds. Reynolds will see the field, but Everett will get more of the touches.
So what about Everett and Higbee? Is Higbee not even an option here? Everett is the clear-cut number 1 route.
No, because you'll have both of them on the field at the same time now. Okay. You'll have Everett in the slot or out wide with Cooks. McVay's a genius. He's a mad scientist, you know.
So if
he's cooking in the lab, he's gonna have Everett on like a bunch formation where Everett just a go man. It's gonna be crazy. I can't wait. This is like, here's what you gave Sean McVay in week 10, in week 11. You gave him a challenge. and after years of Scott Linehan and Jeff Fisher, let me tell you, it's so much fun being in this position. It's really beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
If you're a fantasy player and you need to pick up either Everett or Higbee, who do you pick up then? Everett?
Everett, yeah. But I think Everett's taken in the league.
Yeah. I don't even know. I guess
I think Tomasone has him, or one of the guys have him.
Okay, so Everett.
No, that's interesting because like so far Higbee's been producing here and there, and he's good for like a surprise. We have Higbee 2 on 3rd down or at the goal line or whatever. Are you saying that Higbee's going to stay Higbee, but
Everett will elevate?
Yeah, so rather than the 3rd Rams receiver being that guy, it'll be Everett that elevates.
I think so. Everett has more yards, and he sees the field like 30% less of the time than Higbee.
Yeah,
Everett's the big play guy.
Okay,
and in the red zone, they relied on Kupp in the red zone because Cooks and Woods aren't like offensive dynamos inside the 20. Everett will be the guy they rely on in the red zone.
So Everett will be the new Eric Ebron for the Rams, basically.
Yeah, and I don't have him. You know, it's so sad. Thank God I have Nick Van Ette.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Okay, that's interesting. I think you're onto something. I mean, you should know. Jeff just told me to start Josh Reynolds.
Reynolds could give you a touchdown, which in our league is all you need, right? You need 6 to 10 points from like your 3rd receiver.
Sure.
Or your 2nd receiver if you're playing 3 running backs. How many running backs do you have, by the way? Like you have a boatload now. You have Kamara Gurley, which is the most unfair tandem in fantasy sports. Like, it's ridiculous. It's Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. That's what it is. In terms of like,
but it's not even like one of those players decided to join my team. It's all me. I put it all together.
I know. And like you got him in the 15th round.
Yeah.
Did you trade nothing for Gurley?
No, I think I traded Gurley. I forget who I had, but that was the season when I was packing it in. And whoever my stud running back was, I traded to a contender, and they gave me back Gurley.
I think it was Corey who made that trade with you.
I think it was Corey. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't remember who I gave him. Look it up.
Wow.
Corey won the league that year, though, so it worked out for him.
It worked out for him.
Yeah, and it's worked out for me ever since, but I haven't won yet. I've been a finalist, and now the team that beat me last year is dead and gone.
It's going to really suck when Sean McVay and Sean Payton both rest their starters like in the playoff game for you.
Chris, let's talk about.
I'm just saying, I'm really glad that the Saints beat the Rams that game because that really helped ensure that Gurley has to play all regular season. You know.
Well, I want to get Chris's take on that. I mean, are they, they're going for the Todd Gurley touchdown record? Do you think there's a chance of him not
anymore? If we had this interview 2 weeks ago, I said yeah, but he's gotten one each of the last 2 games. I don't think he has it anymore.
I agree. So do you think there's a legit chance that he splits time with Malcolm Brown in Week 16?
Yeah. I think there's the last couple of seasons because the division's going to be wrapped up on Monday night, boys. Because Green Bay's going to win tomorrow. We're going to be KC on Monday, and that's a wrap on the division. It's like It's mathematically done. So I think we're going to be resting guys in the last 3 weeks of the year. I think in the Eagles game on Sunday Night Football, we'll start resting guys.
I kind of agree, man. And Chris is really close. He's like the beat reporter. He's the beat fan. So.
Yeah, Chris, you just started a Rams podcast. I hope.
I really should. But the Rams Twitter is the craziest, most emotional Twitter ever in the world. They lost that seat. This is a franchise that in 2 years lost 29. Everyone laughs at the Browns. Yeah. We went 1-15 and 2-14 in back-to-back seasons, and you're crying over one loss where like it came down to 2 plays against the Saints, and they're losing it. Fire Wade, fire everybody, and it's like, calm down, guys. Let's breathe a bit. Remember 7-9?
Yeah, they're hysterical, man. They've only been a football fan again for the last year and a half. They're getting used to it.
LA sports fans are the worst.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get into some of Chris's gambling moves that he made to bulk up his team because, look, I mean, I think you have a shot at getting out of our conference. I think Cam Newton is definitely a great play for the rest of the season. So, look, you made trades. You made a trade with me to get Jordan Howard. You made a trade with Alex to get Gronk. I mean, I do think better days are ahead for Gronk. Mo and I were just discussing on today's episode how the Patriots need to lean on Gronk pretty soon here.
I have Gronk, and I'd love for them to lean on Gronk. They need to lean on Sony Michel. If the Patriots, and football-wise, I think the Pats need to lean on Sony Michel because Tom Brady ain't Tom Brady anymore. I think. I'm not saying he's done. But he can't throw the ball deep anymore. I have Josh Gordon on my team, and like he just underthrows him or overthrows him. It's sad.
Not that I want to start a waiver wire battle at this particular moment, but Rex Burkhead is coming off IR. I don't know if he's owned in our league. So,
let's all scramble for the 4th running back on the pass. Let's all go to our pitchforks.
I don't think I have room in my starting lineup for him anyway, so
maybe you should rest Kamara, Mo, and see if Rex Burkhead will get you through a week. What are we talking about?
Well, you just told me Brady's done, so like that's the hot tip, right?
I don't think Brady's done. I don't see the Pats getting out of the AFC this year. That's what, and I think at that point, if he can't throw the deep ball now, what happens a year from now?
I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's possible.
You see him stumble against the Titans?
Yeah, but we talk about it. Remember, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that Belichick just throws games to his old assistants this year to prop them up. You know,
he could throw 100 games at Matt Patricia. It ain't going to help Matt Patricia.
I don't even want to get started.
Jeff, it's like you have your own version of like Fat Jeff Fisher.
I can't stand Patricia. I've been a Lions fan since 1994. I actually despise them right now. I can't look at the guy's face, man. I can't take him seriously. I'm very embarrassed. I was never a fan of Patricia from the get-go. I always liked Caldwell. They were 9-7 and they were good with a lot of injuries last year, and they almost made the playoffs. So, yeah,
it's almost like hiring a defensive coordinator who gave up back-to-back years of like almost 30 points a game in the Super Bowl was a bad idea.
Dude, I'm very frustrated by it. I know the Lions look like an anemic team now that Golden Tate is gone. I feel like they're a team that
they're going to run the ball the rest of the year, right?
Sorry?
I think they're like whoever owns Stafford.
And I think teams are going to start playing matchups against the Lions in fantasy, I think they're going to start being that weak team. I feel like if you have a defense that goes against the Lions, or you're getting nervous about Stafford, I think the only guy that sounds good in that team is Golladay personally, and maybe Carry On. But I feel like they could turn into quickly one of the bottom feeders in terms of anemic offenses. They were supposed to have the top offensive line, by the way. Stafford's been sacked like 16 or 17 times in the last 2 weeks. So.
2 weeks, poor bastard.
Yeah.
Hey Mo, the Rams play the Lions in after the bye, so a 40-point day.
That'll be Todd Gurley's last full game for the season.
Yeah, he'll put up like 40 points, and I'm like, I'm good until January.
So you're saying, so I'm gonna be you guys? I think you guys are just rooting for me to lose. That's why you're saying all this random stuff.
I'm rooting for you to win, because if you win, maybe you'll decide to give me Todd Gurley next.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, I have to give somebody, right? But
David Johnson in the first-round pick. Who says no? I mean, I'm sure they'll hire somebody smart in Arizona.
I gotta say, it does feel good to be the champ, and I haven't really cared all season. So if one of you wins, yeah, Mo, you may care less about making deals next year, because look, I traded away Le'Veon this year, and I wasn't saying that I didn't think he was going to not come back or anything. I think I made out well in the deal, but only because I won it last year, I was less emotionally involved this year. So
yeah, I'm sure being the defending. I mean, this is not a good title defense, but if you're gonna have as bad a year as you've had, if it's on the heels of winning, that's the best time to have it.
Yeah, it's shocking. You have a pretty decent team. You don't have a bad team.
I know.
You find a way to lose every week. You're like the Lions.
Basically.
You're the Lions, except with the championship, which must make you feel so much better.
Exactly, dude. That's awesome. And I love how we can talk football, because we are big fans. Definitely Lions. How long have you been a Rams fan for, Chris?
Since 1999, since the first Super Bowl year.
Wow.
They were the first team I watched. Yeah. So we won the Super Bowl, and then 2 years later, they're back in the Super Bowl. They have the greatest team on earth. They're 14-2, and then it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad for a long time.
And we've all been living that nightmare ever since.
We hired this kid, and all of a sudden we're the best team in football. It's like,
how old is McVay, by the way? He's
32.
Like 32 or something like that.
Yeah. I remember seeing on Twitter, I'm sure you saw this last year, Chris. I think McVay used to work with the Redskins staff, or the Redskins were going to hire him, and they were like, "Who's this McVay guy?" And he's like, they described him. Do you remember?
He broke in with the Bucks as a special assistant to the video coach. Then he bounced around to different other organizations in UFL and stuff, and then he got hired in Washington as a tight ends coach.
Right.
And worked his way up to offensive coordinator, and then basically made Kirk Cousins a multimillionaire, and left.
Yeah.
Saved the Rams franchise.
So how can you have McVay?
I know we're going to lose this guy in 4 or 5 years.
You have you have a few smart guys in the NFL, and you have a lot of dumb guys in the NFL. It's just unbelievable.
It's the best. It's the weirdest thing ever. You have Kyle Shanahan, who's the 49ers are the most entertaining 2-7 talentless team in the league. And then you have the Raiders, who John Gruden is trying to bring us back to 1994, and he's proving that he's the most worthless coach in sports, because he won with somebody else's team and has done nothing since.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out though to, because there's this incoming generation of coaches, right? It's a new wave of it, but with that in mind, shout out to Andy Reid for being just he's been on this stuff for 20 years before any of these kids, right? And he's still, and look at it, he's now that they're having their moment and that style of play is having its moment, and he's just I've been doing this the whole time. I've been waiting for this.
I also feel like Andy has been working towards this for years. He built ever since he left Philly, he almost won in Philly in 04 with McNabb and Owens team. And I think and then for years he was the guy who couldn't win the big one. Then he was fired. Then he went to the playoffs with Alex Smith 5 years in a row. That's
over and over again. Yeah.
difficult to do. And then he found this Mahomes kid, and he's like, I think all his dreams came true.
He's always had some great toys to work with, though. He had Jamal Charles in his prime.
Yeah.
And that he was kind of like, I feel like he was
in his prime, if you want to go way back.
Yeah, because these guys aren't all like high draft picks. Like Jamal Charles wasn't like a highly touted guy. You know, Andy Reid saw what he could get out of him.
Yeah. Jamal Charles was the first human joystick before Tariq Cohen. I mean, Jamal Charles was one of those new guys that were just like lightning fast, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an honor to Tariq Cohen, even considering that. Jamal Charles, it was like first-round draft pick for years. You know what I mean? Like, he was a stud. Yeah. It's not just like...
Where would Jamal Charles rank today, though, with all the running backs in the league?
Jamal Charles in his prime, I think... Well, again, Jamal Charles led the way to every running back. Like, now they look for every running back to be like Jamal Charles was.
Yeah, exactly.
LT was the first one.
He had like
Marshall Falk LT, and then it was that next generation, and now that's led into...
So, what's your quick take on Saquon as a player? Just talking of new generation guys.
As a Rams fan, I'll give you this: he's Steven Jackson and Marshall Falk if they had a baby.
Wow.
He's a big freak. Yeah. But like, he stops on a dime. He can catch the ball. He runs routes. Like, he doesn't just. If they had even like a moderately good quarterback in New York, they'd be a playoff team. That offense is so talented. And the Giants have been in prime time the whole year, so like you could see how bad they are. Yeah. Eli's terrible.
Yeah.
180 yards on Monday night. He could have had a 3-touchdown game, over 150 yards, and Eli's just that terrible.
So what's worse between the O-line and Manning? Manning is still worse than the O-line. I kind of lean that way.
2 years ago, the Rams had the worst O-line in football. We signed 2 guys, and all of a sudden we had the best O-line in football.
Yeah. It doesn't take much. With the Giants, actually, they have Jamon Brown now.
Jamon
Brown. So obviously, like, I don't know if he was a bad lineman, but he was part of that squad last year. So
he was the weakest link, and he lost his job to just like a mauler.
Yeah.
White backup center, and he became just mauler over the offseason. You gotta love it. HGH, baby.
Do you have any final hot takes for the rest of the season? Anything? Any anecdotes?
The Saints will lose before they play the Rams again.
Okay.
The Steelers and Patriots will have a great game in Week 15, and the Pats will barely make the playoffs.
Okay. Does Gronk help you out? Does Gronk help your team out?
I don't know. You know, I had Gronk in another league, and I traded him Week 2, because I figured he was going to have a rough season. His best week in any fantasy context was Week 1. He had like over 19 points in non-PPR. Yeah. He's gotten no more than 10 since then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he just doesn't. He's not the same guy anymore. He can barely run. He's playing with one arm. Like it's like the end of the machine. Like you can see the machine breaking down in front of you.
Yeah, he's either. I see two things. I see him coming back to his form or ending the year on IR. That's the only two things. I don't see this sort of preserving him for the rest of the year. He's going to break, or he's going to sink or swim, basically.
But the narrative's always been the Pats are going to figure it out come playoff time. I just don't. They don't have enough horses this year, and the AFC is actually deep, except for the goddamn Chargers. Everyone says the Chargers are good. The Chargers are terrible. They haven't beaten anybody. Relax.
Yeah. They have to prove themselves. They definitely have to prove themselves.
I play the Raiders twice a year. What are we talking about?
I will say I've treated the Chargers as like a fantasy ATM. I'll take the points, but I don't actually take them seriously as a football team right now. Maybe they'll show me something, but I don't know. You're right. I agree. Like I think they're just a fantasy football team. They're not a football team.
The two teams above 500 that they played are the Rams and the Chiefs, and they lost by like combined 20 points.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I need to respect the time of the podcast and the episode. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Or Chris, this was great, man. I was really entertained by this.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Also, one final thought. So Chris does the job that Jeff and I have done this before in our league, but Chris has taken it over graciously this year, and he's done a great job but he writes the recaps of our weekly schedule on our scoreboard, and he recaps the results and gives a little editorializing on what each team needs to do. Nobody else needs to know the details of our league, but just speak generally. How much do you enjoy writing these articles? How much does it feel like a chore? And I say that like you don't have to hide your feelings, right? But it's like, how fantasy football is the same way. You love fantasy football, but it's a drag in the middle. But also, like, how do you keep everybody interested? And like, because it's your job. By writing this article, it's sort of your job. You're saying, I'm going to work harder than everyone else to make sure that everybody stays interested. How do you do it? What's important to you? What are you trying to accomplish other than making people laugh? Which you do plenty, by the way.
Thank you. For me, it's like a writing exercise. That's part of it. Is that it's a fun writing exercise because you get the info in front of you and you got to try to make something of it. So as a selfish comic point of view, it's just a fun exercise every week because you're making 6 jokes basically. Yeah. But for the league, when you guys did them, they were such a cool thing because like Yahoo does this fake review thing where it's like computer automated, and ESPN will give you like the breakdowns, but like you guys made it more fun and personable. And when nobody wanted to do it, I was like, I'll do it. This is a fun part of Tuesday. It's like a recap.
They're really great, man. Honestly, they're better than the ones I did because I was kind of just going 3 lines and this matchup happened here. But you're adding a lot of humor. You're adding some color to it. And
there's been an evolution of it because Jeff is busy being the commissioner of the league too, right? So the waiver move, and so he's putting out little fires and he's writing this article. And then he would have me do it because I didn't have to worry about any of the commissioner stuff. I could spend a little bit more time. Yeah, turn it into a writing exercise. It's just kind of fun, And then and like you've taken it up an even another notch, and it's like it's amazing, man. For a league full of comedians, these friggin' recaps are the best work any of us have ever done. It's embarrassing.
I'll ever do. I mean, I created awards now. Like it's honestly it's so much fun because like we all love football, and it's tough to nerd out about football with non-football people. Yeah. So when you're able to nerd out on something with people who all relate to it, it's the best.
Well, I think you have a skill. I think you have a skill, man. And I would love to actually read articles that you write in the off season, like columns or something like that. I mean, even Rams Report, because, there's a lot of Rams fans and not all of them are able to articulate in a comedic way.
A lot of Rams fans didn't finish high school. So it's tough. It's LA. It's a different education system.
It is. That's great.
A lot of Rams fans are Packers fans or like Patriots fans during the year. Oh, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Chris, man, next season I want you to have some sort of a project of your own, okay? Because like you got to bottle this. You're really good at this stuff. Please.
Yeah, it's good, man. And I'd love to have. I'm sure I speak on behalf of Mo. We'd love to have you back on this show before the end of the year.
Never again.
Forget it.
Hey, man.
Burying us on our own show, man. I can't have this. My ego can't take it.
Oh, man. Always a pleasure laughing with you and talking football, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck rest of the way, man. I want you to get in and feel good like you can rest your starters after this week.
No, it's a race for second place. Mo's got it.
Let's see, man. Let's see. I don't want it to be me versus the field. Come on.
You never know. Any given Sunday, baby.